What makes the question, do I have enough, so hard to answer? Why does running the numbers over and over not reduce our anxiety at all? How do we reframe enough in a way that actually brings peace? In today's video, we're going to talk about why the question, do I have enough to retire, creates anxiety instead of clarity, and how to replace it with a question that actually helps you make grounded, confident decisions. Most of us were taught to prepare for retirement in exactly one way: save more, invest wisely, watch the balance grow. So you do what responsible, high-achieving people do. You contribute consistently. You run projections. You check calculations. You follow the rules. And yet, the uncertainty lingers. Not because the numbers are wrong, but because the numbers are answering a question you never really asked. Here's the truth most retirement conversations skip. You can't know if you have enough until you know what enough is supposed to support. Because enough isn't a number, it's a relationship. And if you want to go deeper into how those pieces actually work together, I unpack that in another video, which I'll link for you here. In this video, I'm going to show you a simple 3-step framework I call Design Before You Decide. It will help you shift your focus so you're asking the questions that give you agency, clarity, and confidence. So instead of asking, am I okay, you can start saying, here's where I am and here's what I can do. I'm Tanya Finks, not a financial advisor, just someone like you who's 5 to 10 years from retirement and determined to make sure all this hard work turns into a life we actually enjoy. After decades coaching people through major life transitions and years inside complex corporate systems building structure and process where there wasn't any, I now apply that same lens to retirement because this season of life is too important to leave vague. If you're new here, welcome to the posse. Most people spend decades preparing for retirement in one way: financially, saving, investing, watching the 401k balance, and that matters. But once you see what financial preparation doesn't answer, and why that gap keeps so many capable people stuck in uncertainty, you'll understand why "do I have enough" is the wrong place to start. Do I have enough? It's the unanswerable question we can't help asking. And it's also the question that keeps people stuck. Because enough without context doesn't create clarity. It creates anxiety. You've probably heard all the familiar answers. You need $1 million. You need 25 times your annual expenses. You need 70 to 80% of your pre-retirement income. Just follow the 4% rule. And the frustrating part, every calculator gives you a different number. Every article sounds confident, and none of them actually settle the unease. Here's why that question doesn't work. It assumes there's a universal number that applies to everyone, but there isn't. Your version of enough depends on things no calculator can see: what your life actually costs, the lifestyle you want to live, where your income comes from, how much flexibility you're willing to have, and what risks you're managing over time. That's why two people with the same net worth can feel completely different levels of confidence about retirement. One feels calm, the other feels exposed, not because one is smarter, but because one has clarity and the other has numbers. Research from T. Rowe Price puts it plainly. Retirement planning is both a financial and a non-financial process, and saving becomes more meaningful when you have a clear picture of what you're saving for. In other words, you can't know if you have enough until you know what enough is meant to support. And this is where most people get stuck. They keep asking a question that can't give them peace. And they wonder why the anxiety never goes away. So if "do I have enough" is the wrong question, what's the right one? Here's the shift that changes everything. The right question isn't "do I have enough?" The right question is, what does enough look like for me? This is the moment where anxiety starts to loosen, because now you're no longer chasing a vague number someone else decided should matter. You're defining your life and then asking whether your resources actually support it. That's a completely different orientation. AARP's guidance for Gen X starts exactly here. Not with account balances, not with projections. Step 1 is calculating how much retirement will cost, not how much you have, how much that life you want will actually cost. Lifestyle comes first. Then money gets matched to it, not the other way around. Here's what that looks like in real terms. Instead of asking, is $800,000 enough? You ask, what does my ideal retirement life cost? And do my resources support that life? Instead of asking, should I retire at 62 or 65? You ask, what kind of life do I want at 62? What would it take to fund it? And what changes financially and experientially if I wait until 65? Do you feel the difference? One question keeps you spinning. The other gives you something solid to work with. One creates anxiety. The other creates clarity. So how do you actually define what enough looks like for you in a way that feels accessible and concrete? That's where the framework comes in. I use a simple approach called design before you decide. It's not a formula, it's not a calculator, and it's definitely not a set of rules. It's a 3-step way to create clarity before you start making decisions. Step 1 is defining your ideal retirement life. This is where most people think they've already done the work, but usually haven't. Not because you don't know what you want, but because you've rarely been given space to define it on purpose. This step isn't about being realistic yet. It's not about affordability, and it's not about locking anything in. It's just about clarity, not what you think you should want, not what your neighbor wants, what you want. Where do you want to live? Is it the same house, a smaller one, closer to family, or a different climate? Who do you want in your regular life? And I don't mean who you love. I mean who you actually spend time with week to week. What do you want to do with your time? Travel, create, volunteer, mentor, learn, rest? What experiences matter most to you? Not occasionally, but regularly. And one of the most important questions of all, what does a really good Tuesday look like? Not a vacation day, a normal Tuesday. This is the picture money is meant to support. Once you can see it, then and only then do you bring money into the conversation. That's step 2, aligning your financial plan. Now you ask a different question. What does this life actually cost? You don't need perfection here. You need visibility. You look at must-haves, nice-to-haves, and flexibles. You add it up just enough to see the shape of it. Then you map your income sources. Social Security, retirement accounts, a pension if you have one, part-time work or consulting, other assets. For the first time, you can actually start to see the relationship. Does this income support this life? If not, where's the gap? And what flexibility do I actually have? That leads to step 3, adjusting with intention. This is the part people fear, but it's also the part that brings the most peace, because adjustment doesn't mean sacrifice, it means choice. You have levers you can pull: lifestyle, income, flexibility. The framework never tells you what to do. It shows you your options. And once you can see your options, you're no longer guessing, you're deciding. That's what enough actually looks like, not a number, a picture. Let me ground this in real life. When I started thinking about my own retirement lifestyle, I considered where I'd like to live. I'll be honest, when the world started feeling heavier, I found myself thinking about spending part of the year abroad. I'm a Rams season ticket holder and I volunteer during the school year, so I wouldn't want to move away full time. And I have dogs, so I explored what all that could look like. Then I started to calculate the cost of maintaining 2 homes, while possibly renting out one home while I was staying in the other. That helped me understand what I might need to generate in retirement to support that lifestyle. Now, I haven't shared this with my partner just yet. I simply wanted to get an understanding of what it could look like and what it would take to support it. When I ran my own Design Before You Decide framework, here's what became clear. Elements of my lifestyle vision are clear: Rams, volunteering, and my partner. Not in that order. I know what matters to me. I know what I want my days to feel like: relaxed and purposeful. And I know who I want in my life. My income streams are mapped, and I have flexibility around when I stop working full time. I also know my risk factors. Longevity matters to me. I've got some debt that needs to be resolved. But here's the part that matters most. The framework didn't tell me I was behind. It showed me I have levers. And that shift from "am I okay?" to "here's where I am and here's what's in my control" is incredibly calming, even when the picture isn't perfect. So how do you start? You don't need a financial degree. You don't need perfect answers. And you don't need to solve everything today. You just start with one thing. Define the life you're trying to support. Set aside 20 to 30 minutes, no spreadsheets, no calculators. Just answer a few simple questions. If money were handled at a good enough level, what would a really good Tuesday look like? Who do you want in your regular week? What experiences do you want more of? What environments make you feel most like yourself? And how do you want to feel most days? You're not locking anything in. You're just noticing. And once you can see the life, enough stops being a scary abstraction and starts becoming something you can work with. To make this easier, I created a simple tool called the Next Chapter Reflection Starter. It walks you through this exact process, step by step, without overwhelm. You'll find it linked below. And if you're wondering whether it's too late, I want you to hear this clearly. Ages 50 to 65 are the most powerful window for building clarity. You still have options. You still have flexibility. And clarity now creates leverage later. So here's your next step. Download the Next Chapter Reflection Starter. Give yourself 20 to 30 minutes, not to solve everything, just to see the picture. Because you've worked too hard to end up with a retirement that doesn't reflect who you are. This is about alignment, not pressure, clarity, not urgency, intention, not fear. Let me know in the comments if you've started to think about these things. Thanks for spending time with me, Posse. I'll see you in the next episode. And remember, the best chapter of your life isn't behind you. It's the one you're building now.